Okay, this is the on the TPS changeout for a '99 Subaru Legacy. One thing you notice is that the airbox, the secondary airbox, is all missing. I took that completely out. There's a bolt here on the strut, and there's another bolt on that metal strut you see there. Those come out. Just two regular, here they are, 10mm bolts. I put the airbox over here, two parts. It's easier if you leave on the snorkel, or I should say the tube that attaches to the back of the airbox. It doesn't help you to take that off. It's easier to take it off right here where the airbox meets this tube. And then you can split it up and pull off that large the cover. So there's three connections here for hoses that just have little clips on them to pull those clips off, and then of course the hose clamp to take the whole unit off. Back to here. One other thing that will help is that this tube that goes to the PCV valve, which is right here, that's the PCV. It comes right up here and it tees off. There's another hose that goes into the airbox. Just pull that whole thing off. You'll get a lot more clearance to take out the TPS. So now the TPS is gone. You see the little pin in there for the throttle. Here it almost looks imperceptible, but this is the old one and this is the new one. This I bought at AutoZone two and a half years ago now, and it's not an OEM, but it was less than half the price of the OEM version, and they're so easy to change out. This is a 15-minute job. So I went with the cheaper one, and 2.5 years later, I have a code for the TPS and did the voltage, and now it is bad. So there's a whole procedure on how to check that. But here's a new one, round 2, going in into the unit. So at this point, it'll just be a simple swap out, and you notice that the fin, or whatever you call this, that turns the throttle, they're in the same position, which is good. If this one was stuck, say, way open, and the car's off, then you know there's another fault. There's a mechanical fault with this. But these are just non-OEM. They're just reverse engineered, most likely, from the OEM version. So not sure of all electronics that are in here that could fail, from a cold solder joint to just a trace being broken in general. But this is the situation with this current one. So round 2, several years later, just want to put it back in here as such, and take the two bolts that go on one each on either side, and unplug and plug back in the harness. Like most things, this harness has got a safety button on it to decompress it, and it is somewhat difficult, so just be careful and press down. It'll release this tab up. This end will come up and it'll allow you to pull it off. Some models, Subarus, in this year especially, have 3 pins. This actually has a 4-pin, and in the AutoZone's website they'll be listed as it'll look like a Bosch 3-pin. So the '99 Subaru, depends on what type of version you have, will have the 4 or the 3-pin. When I changed this out the last time, several years ago, I bought both, and I returned the other one just because I didn't want to have to go to the store and wait for another version. So if you're going to do your TPS, either check beforehand of how many pins that you actually have, and not just that the harness is a 4-pin, because there's a 4-pin harness and a 3-pin harness. But in my case, you see here, there's actually only 3 wires going to it: the red on the left, the white in the middle, and the black on the right. But it is really a 4-pin unit. It just doesn't use this last pin. So just be careful. Make sure you don't get a 3-pin, because then it won't actually fit. The Molex connector will be different on the harness. So this is after the new TPS is installed. And one final note about the installation. You can see here how the screw is actually right in the middle of the slot. That's important because the throttle position sensor will sense high or low throttle and then not let you shift properly if these are not properly aligned. So first symptom is you may get, if you're on, see the back side closer to the throttle body. If you're closer to that side towards the camera, then what you'll do is you get a high idle. And if you go to the back side, so move the sensor, rotate it inward, so the screw is now sitting at the back of that slot. What you do is you get a good idle, but you won't be able to shift properly. You'll get a AT oil temp light as well that comes on, and you really can't go above probably 20 miles an hour. So look for the center of that slot, and there'll be a little slice in there, and that little slot in there really helps get the final adjustment. If you don't, so you don't have to take off the whole airbox. If you don't have that final adjustment done, a good tool that I found is this. This is from Harbor Freight. It's just a right angle ratcheting head. It's smaller than a socket head with a driver bit in it, a Phillips bit in it. This is $1.50. Also, if you have a little stubby Phillips head or a flat head, that will work decently, but it's still a little too long. So this I found worked perfectly. It has a little thumb screw, so it has knurled edges, so it gives you good grip when you're in there at a, you can see how there's hardly any clearance. You move this PCV valve hose out of the way, and then this airbox hose, which also goes crankcase ventilation, it'll come out. That will give you a little more clearance to go here, and then the screw below. So really like this tool. Didn't have it the last time I did this job, and it made it more difficult. So between making sure that the screws are directly in center with the slot, again, there's a line on that slot, on each slot, so that the screw head will go properly, be properly aligned, and then something like this helps a lot to get the final adjustments. You can do it with the cars running, and then as well as I pulled the battery so that it removed that code as well. In case you have this in the wrong position, it might throw a code to your TCM. So pull the battery, adjust this to the center properly to use this if you need to.